And I love you so. The people ask me how I've lived till now. I tell them I don't know. I guess they understand how lonely life has been. Life began again the day you took my hand. And yes, I know how lonely life can be. The shadows follow me, and the night won't set me free. But I won't let the evening bring me down. Now that you're around me, and I love you too. Thoughts are just for me. You set my spirit free.
Hi guys, what's up?
I'm happy that you do.
Hello, what's up?
Is breathing.
I'm just coming up now. Let me invite this guy.
And yes, I know
That's
lonely life can
technically
be.
fine. Okay,
Shadows follow
technically fine
me,
there.
and the night won't set me free. But
Okay, so I want to discuss this.
bring me down.
I want to discuss this subject. Okay, is the subject about the Sabbath. There is a teaching. There is a teaching, and there are people. I don't know if I should say people, but they are friends of mine who believe in this. They believe in this teaching that the Sabbath is actually counted, or we note the Sabbath. We should observe the Sabbath according to the moon. All right, this is how we should observe the Sabbath. So I have friends like this, and I remember we actually had this discussion some years back, and for a time I accepted their arguments and what they were saying. All right, it made sense, but then I had to visit this on my own and try to find what does the Bible say about this idea. What does the Bible really say? Because I think this is where the challenge is, because most of us, we do not follow these teachings because we have understood them, or because we have done the research for ourselves. No, we don't do that. All right, we don't do that. So this is where the problem is. Okay, we teach what other people have. Well, that's the basis. We teach what other people have researched, okay, coming from different backgrounds of their own understanding, okay, and we then accept what they are teaching, okay. So it has to be someone who has studied or who has read something or has listened to this guy and that other guy. And then if we are convinced on that discussion on that subject, then we begin to teach or we share what we have learned. Okay. But this subject is one I got from a friend. I wished I had invited him and another gentleman who commented on my previous video. Okay, the one I did about no one knows the day and how the moon was used. Okay, and in the perspective that how the Sanhedrin was using the moon. Okay, these subjects, yeah, I know they are not interesting and they carry no content in them, but I have a strong argument that these are and can be the pillars of us to be able to see into the future. Okay. If we discredit these things, it will be difficult for us to understand the Bible or to understand the Torah looking into the future. We cannot see the future. We are blind to the future because of these things that we have dismissed in the past. The things like the signs in the sky, huh? The signs in the sky that the moon, the sun, and the stars are to vanish, are to give. And since that the sun was given to rule the day and the moon the night, and the moon as it were, is given to count for the counting of the months. Okay, so a combination then of the months and the sun, okay, of the moon and the sun, we can come up with a year in that regard. But the controversial point which I am trying to address in this presentation is that which pertains to the moon. Okay, it is that which pertains to the moon. Yeah. Um, okay, let me see. All right, so of all guys, this is the gentleman who cannot leave me alone. Okay. All right. So I was saying that then the moon was given for the months, specifically for the appointed times, which were called the moedims. Okay, the appointed times. The Bible is clear in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. These were the things they were given as such, and I think it's I cannot say arrogance, but then it's us being naive in what the Bible says or what the Bible teaches or the knowledge or the understanding that the Bible wants to give us, because it says that these things are given for science and for appointed times. And how be it that these things, as they are given today, they hold no significance in our spiritual lives, in our beliefs. They don't. They are nowhere. They not, nowhere. The teachers of us today, those who teach us, they actually say these things are nothing. And you know what exactly? If the essence of the moon and the sun and the stars around us is negated, mankind is left with the neon lights and street lights along the path, and these they inspire such knowledge as has been crafted with men. These inspire understanding as what man has taught. But if we want to understand God's plans, if we want to understand God's timings, how he communicates from heaven to earth on a daily basis, which he does, because David in the book of Psalms, he cries that night after night, the firmament above, the skies above, they speak wisdom and understanding. But what understanding does our generation get from these? Or we don't. We don't even want that understanding. No. We don't have that perspective at all. Our perspective that we have is the one that our teachers, our preachers, our what should I say now? Yes, our teachers that they have given us. All right, and this is where I think the whole thing has um, this is where the whole thing has, I cannot say get where the whole thing got corrupted, but um, this is where we have lost it, if I should say. This is where we have lost it. All right. So this is a part to restore understanding, to try to bring into picture what exactly it was, because I have brothers who are shooting the arrow in the wrong place, or they are teaching something that is not there in the Bible. So I just want to come and correct that, and hopefully my brothers will listen to this, and they will appreciate the effort behind, so that we can move on together. So the thing is, this is where we find um, the lunar teaching about the Sabbath. So what exactly is the lunar teaching with the subject? Okay, what exactly do they teach? All right, so the understanding is that in as much as the new moon signal the new month, okay, it also starts the counting for the weekly Sabbaths. Hence, Sabbath days will always be fixed days in a month. For example, the 8th will be a Sabbath, the 15th will be a Sabbath, the 22nd will be a Sabbath, and the 29th will be a Sabbath, their weekly Sabbath. So this is, in summary, the total of it. Those who teach that the Sabbath is signaled by the moon. This is what they teach. Okay, so the new moon day, the first day of the month, will be a holiday. Okay, it will be a holy day. Okay, it was to be observed as such. And in my discussion today, I'm going to rest much of my talking from the book of Samuel, the first book of Samuel, chapter 20 and chapter 21. Okay, I'm going to shoot to the book of Exodus, the book of Leviticus, okay, so that we can find understanding or clear the ground that much, okay, to have a perspective, a little perspective, okay, so that we have this thing cleared once and for all, okay? So this is what they teach, my brothers and my sisters, about the Sabbath, which come fixed. And so for them, the Sabbath are floating, okay? So the Sabbath will not fall on the same day. On the Gregorian calendar, their Sabbath will not fall on the same day. Their Sabbath will fall on, they call them floating Sabbaths, okay? Specifically, they will not come on a specific day. So this other time it could be Monday, next week it will be Tuesday, the other one will be Thursday, and the other one will be any day it can be, all right? So they have applications which do this for them. Okay, one of them is if you can find an application called um, the last day. What do you call them? The last day events. Um, WLC calendar. So they call it the WLC calendar. Okay. World Last Chance. Okay, the World Last Chance. So this is what they teach. They have applications. These guys are advanced in what they're teaching. Okay, they have placed more resources into these discussions. All right. So I want to come into there. If someone could help them, direct them to my presentation, maybe we could get some meaningful questions and critique this presentation, so that it doesn't be, it will not be one-sided. All right, in the picture that it can be. So this is their teaching and their resources I have given thee. So we'll move on to my argument. All right, so this is what we have according to them. Okay, so in summary, I have made a presentation or a layout of 2 weeks. So these are just two weeks side by side, where you are using the method of counting days. Okay, so one strip is a day. Okay, this is what you find on my on the slide that we have currently. One strip is one day, and they are in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the first 6 days, and the seventh one will be a Sabbath. This is on a Sabbath where you are counting days. All right, on Sabbath where you are counting days, okay, you would be doing it this way. And on the second week on my presentation, I didn't put the days, but then it's the same sequence. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then the seventh day, which is in different color by itself, and it's repeating the same color. Okay, so this is a general understanding. So those explanations, those things that I'm pointing, I'm going to explain them. You will see, and then this slide will make more meaning as we go into this lesson, if we might call it that. Okay, so there is the moon phases on top. I have placed the moon phases on top. There is the new crescent, the half moon, the full moon, the half moon that is decreasing, and the last part of the moon which is fading out. So to the guys who do the lunar Sabbath, okay, all these 5 are Sabbaths. Or on these stages, you'll find Sabbaths, okay? So the first new moon day will be a Sabbath, and the half moon will be on the 8th day of the month, and it will be a Sabbath. On the 15th is a full moon, you would find a Sabbath. On the 22nd will be a half moon, as you go like that, all right? So basically that's how they say, and that's the layout. In my discussion, I'm looking at the story about David and Jonathan, okay? David and Jonathan, when both these friends realized how much Saul hated David and how much Saul wanted to kill David, okay? They made a covenant between themselves, all right, between Jonathan and David. Basically, the covenant was that David found favor in the eyes of Jonathan. Jonathan supposedly supposed to be the heir after his father. Okay, he doesn't take it on David that he could be the next to rule outside the house of his father. He doesn't take offense in that, but he gives so much favor to David, all right? And they make a covenant: as the Lord liveth, may he look after you and me. May our offspring, despite the enmity that my father have created with you, let my family, my offspring, Jonathan's offspring, and your offspring, David offspring, may they have peace among them. May they do each other great favor. Okay, so that's the story. That's the story. When after they've made that, so David makes the flight. Okay, David has to run away. That's basically the story I'm working from. Okay, so David and Jonathan. First Samuel chapter 20, verse 5. David said to Jonathan, "Behold, tomorrow is the new moon." So many people, they read those verses, they don't go to extents of asking, what is the new moon? What is it discussing? What was that day? What would it mean? What was the new moon? All right. So I've realized many people, they don't question such. Okay, and hence it many things, they just go unquestioned from the back of their mind, and just like that. All right. So behold, tomorrow, this is David is saying to Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new day, and I should not fail to sit at the table with the king. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field till the third day at evening. So in this case, the new moon day, this is the story maybe you didn't know, or less appreciated by many, that the new moon day, when the new crescent was observed. So these guys, what they are discussing a day before. A day. So in my previous presentation, in my previous video, I actually tried to deal with this idea of the moon. How was it recognized in Jerusalem? Okay, by who? What was the method? Who did what? Okay, this is what I did. So David here is telling Jonathan that tomorrow I should sit at the table with your father, but your father's anger has been kindled against me. And if I should come to that feast of the new moon, he's going to kill me. So let me hide if I have found favor. Let me hide in the field, okay? And you shall appear to me on the third day in the evening. So on the third day would mean the new moon day would come, the second day would come, and on the third day, David is telling Jonathan that you should come back to me, okay? So that I understand the temper of the king. Have I found favor with the king or I haven't found favor? So they made an agreement. So be it. Okay. That was the agreement. And Jonathan was to go to the father to the feast. All right. But David was not coming. So in this case, we have the story. It says the new moon began the new month. Okay, this is written in the Bible. Okay, it is written in the Bible. So First Samuel chapter 20, verse 24 to 27. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon came, the king sat down at the foot to eat. The king sat on the seat as at other times on the seat by the wall. Jonathan sat opposite, and Abner sat by Saul's side, but David's place was empty. All right. So yet Saul did not say anything that day, for he thought, David is unholy. He's not clean, so he cannot attend. All right, which he was willing to let go. The story he was willing to let go. Okay, but you see, on the second day, I like the interpretation. If you read this, 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 27, and it came to pass on the morrow, the next day after the new moon day, okay, which was the second day of the month. Okay, so in this instance, as you can see, the moon is signaling the counting of the month. And he is saying, when the second day of the month had come, that David's place was empty. Then Saul, his anger was kindled. He says to Jonathan, where is this guy? Okay. Yesterday he was not there. I thought he was unclean. Okay, because of so many ceremonies, he was not unclean, so he didn't come. All right. So if he didn't come today, then what's the issue? What's the problem? Then Jonathan gave a bluff, okay, gave a story to Saul. And Saul knew that he was lying to him, okay? And Jonathan, he asks his father and he says, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What has David done to you? He's quite a good guy. He's an innocent guy. He has done this for you. He has worked for you. All he has done is for you. What's your problem with David? And I think Saul was frank enough with Jonathan, and he told Jonathan, see, Jonathan, you are stupid and so naive. As long as that boy is living, David, as long as that boy is living, let me tell you one thing. You can never be a king, okay? So bring him to me that I might kill him, that you might be a king. And in his anger, in his wrath, he see how stupid, according to him, how stupid his son was. And he took a javelin and he was like, trying to point it at his own very son, at his very son. And Jonathan realized how angry, how purposed his father was to kill David. Okay, so the issue that we want was that it was the second day of the month, which issue is also repeated in First Samuel chapter 20, verse 34. Okay, for he was grieved for David because his father had done him shame. Okay, so this is the picture that we have now. All right, so Jonathan now, this was on the second day. Actually, on the second day, Jonathan did not eat on the table. Okay, he came, he asked his father, our father showed this fierce anger. Okay, and Jonathan, he walked away. He would not participate in the meal. He did not eat either. Okay, so he went his way. The point is, when you read next, verse 35, and it came to pass in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field at the appointed time with David, and a little laid with him. So Jonathan keeps his promise that he would come back on the third day. However, something that is interesting to observe is that David, when he talked to Jonathan, David said in the evening of the third day. But Jonathan, he came in the morning of the third day. And that is recorded as the appointed time. It's a very interesting anomaly that we have there. Okay, so I don't think that detail just got there by like by chance. All right, I don't think it's by chance. There should be something to it. Okay, there should be something to it. Anyway, that's not my discussion today. But what I want is that he came on the third day in the morning of the third day. Okay, so when he came on the third day in the morning, then he gave a sign to David about with the lead, and he took the arrow, he overshot the arrow, not where David was, he overshot the arrow, and he was talking to the lead at the same time he was talking to David and said, David, flee, my man, go, for there is no favor in the eyes of the king. You have no favor in the eyes of the king. Go and save your soul, escape from the king. So it is written that the lad knew nothing about this thing. And when the lad was back with the arrows, Jonathan, he gave the whole artillery, the whole arsenal that he had, the bows and the arrows, and he said, go back with them. And when the lad was gone, David came out, and the two, they bade each other farewell. And this was on Thursday in the morning. On the third day, on the third day morning, the morning of the third day. Okay, listen to the story. You would find where the catch is. Okay, so on the morning of the third day, Jonathan goes back to the city. At the same time, David flees away from the city. He went out of the city. So he runs away from the city and he goes to the land of Moab, okay, to the place called Moab. This you find 1 Samuel chapter 21, verse 4 to 6. I like the story. Listen to the story. And the priest answered David and said, there is no common bread. Listen, there is no, because David, if you read from verse 1 to 3, David was asking for bread from the priest. So David went, this is a famous story which Jesus or Yeshua in the New Testament, he refers to the Pharisees and he says, have you not read what David did, that he went and ate food in the temple, the priestly food on a Sabbath? This is the story, okay, but I'm not there, I'm here. So David went asking for food, and the priest who was there on duty, Ahimelech, okay, Ahimelech, he tells David and said, David, look, I don't have common bread. This is where the problem is. I don't have common bread, because common bread, you could find it on any other day. Every day you would find common bread. And this was meant to be fed to the priest who worked in the sanctuary or in the temple. I don't have this common bread, but there is hallowed bread. Wow. What was hallowed bread? What was Ahimelech referring to? If the young men have kept themselves at least from women, and David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days, since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common. Yea, though it was sanctified this day in the vessel. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the shewbread that was taken from before the Lord to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. Good. So this is the story where it is interesting now. Let me just do a paraphrase. From the new moon, David and Jonathan, they meet on the third day, the morning of the third day. And when they meet on the morning of the third day, okay, David on the same day, he goes to, or he runs away. But when he talks to Ahimelech, he says that since my flight from the city, it has been 3 days, me and the young men, and we have not known women. We have not, in other words, we have not slept with women. And this was a criteria Ahimelech used so that he would give them bread. What was that? What was that issue of have you not slept with women for 3 days? That they could partake of the shewbread. This shewbread was only for the priest, for the Levi. Okay, it was never supposed to be eaten by anyone. This was a law that was given. All right, and this law was given in. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this law you would find was given in Leviticus. Where is Leviticus? Okay, let me not overshoot myself. Okay, this law was given in the book of Leviticus. I'm going to give the reference just coming now. Okay, but we want to see the idea of the 3 days and not sleeping with women. What was it? Where was Ahimelech and David getting this concept that if you have not slept with women for 3 days, I can understand and I'll give you the shewbread? Okay, Exodus chapter 19, verse 15. Now the children of Israel in the desert, okay, the children of Israel in the desert, all right, they are standing in front of, Mount Sinai, okay? And when they were there, Moses is told to go and tell the children and tell them, sanctify yourselves. I like the part. So they're told that go and sanctify yourselves. All right. Starting today, count 3 days. On the third day, you shall present yourselves in front of Mount Sinai, and I'm going to talk to everyone. I'm going to say this, and everyone shall hear it from my mouth. Okay, so Moses, go and prepare the sanctification and begin the sanctification of the children of Israel. What are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to be doing starting from that day onward? So there were 3 days. The first day, Moshe is told the story, and the day that followed, and the third day of the meeting, they were told to wash their clothes. All right? On top of washing their clothes, they were said the men were not supposed to meet with their wives. They were not supposed to go into their wives. They were not supposed to sleep with their wives. All right? So this was the part of the sanctification. Okay? So the Bible says that And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives. Why not to come on their wives? Exodus chapter 19, verse 11. And the Lord said unto Moshe, go unto the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes and be ready against the third day. For the third day, the Lord will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. Okay? And as a sanctification process occurred, which included the washing of their clothes, they were required not to come to their women. That was interesting. So when Ahimelech is talking to David, they are alluding to this event in the desert where everyone to come before the Lord so that they might come before the Lord, or they might have the benefits before the Lord. Okay, they were supposed to, this was what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to abstain from sleeping with women for 3 days, wash themselves for 3 days. So Ahimelech is asking David and saying, have the young men not slept with women for 3 days? And David says, for sure, 3 days I've been on a journey when I was coming out of the city, and we did not meet or sleep with women. So he is saying this was the least of the criteria for them to present themselves or to get the offering from the table of shewbread. Yeah, you get the point. So what exactly was the shewbread? Now, because now it's an issue. What exactly was the shewbread? What was it? Because with the shewbread, there's one thing we need to pick. All right, there's one thing we need to pick, and that thing is very interesting when we discuss it. Leviticus chapter 24, verse 5 to 8. Okay, Leviticus chapter 24, verse 5 to 8. And thou shalt take fine flour and bake 12 cakes. Listen to this. Thou shalt take fine flour and bake 12 cakes. 10 plus 2, thou shalt bake them. 2/10 dews shall be in one cake, and thou shalt send them in 2 rows, 6 on one row, 6 on another row, upon the pure table before the Lord. The pure table before the Lord was the table of shewbread. As you entered into the holy place, to your right would be the table of shewbread. Okay, that one which was made of acacia wood, which was then coated with gold. Okay, so that furniture was called the pure table, where you would find the shewbread, and there were 2 rows, each of 6, each of 6. This bread, the important thing you need to note about this bread, it was only changed once a week. It was only changed once a week, and that day when it was changed, it was on the it was on the Sabbath. It was on the Sabbath. It was never changed. It was never changed on the first day, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth. No, it was changed on the 7th day. On the 7th day, the bread on the table of shewbread was changed, replaced with hot bread. Okay? This is not my discussion, but I would have told you what that represented. Okay, the 12 were the 12 tribes of Israel. And why the bread was issued on a Sabbath, it was refreshed. It was that it was on the Sabbath. Their blessings were renewed, their covenant, that Yahweh was their provider and their savior. That was renewed, that vow was renewed on the Sabbath day. All right, it is a point of refreshment, of fresh supplies. This is why in the book of Genesis he says that on the Exodus chapter 8 verse 8, and 9, he says that 6 days shall the labor, but the 7th day shall rest. Verse 11, it was because also when he created, he rested on the 7th day. It was for fresh or for replenishment or the reunion, the revival that would come on the Sabbath. That's what it meant, or what it stood for. All right. And now the issue which was coming, okay, so the issue which was coming now was that this bread was only changed on the Sabbath. And Jonathan, he meets Ahimelech changing this bread, implying this was on a Sabbath. Are you there? Are you there? Are you there? Okay, implying this was on a Sabbath. So verse 8 of Leviticus chapter 24 says, every Sabbath ye shall set it in the order before the Lord continually, being taken from the children of Israel by an everlasting covenant. Okay, so this is the point. When you come to this, it's like the case is closed. Okay, so it was the 3rd day after David takes flight. David takes flight from the city where Jonathan was. And these 3 days were actually after the 2 days of the feast. The first day where the new moon day, David did not attend. The second day, David did not attend. Jonathan attended, but he did not eat. On the 3rd day, the day where David takes the flight to go away, okay, the same day they parted was the 3rd day. So if you do if I did my when I do my arithmetics, this is a inclusive addition. It tells me that on the 5th day was the day David arrived to Nob, the place of Nob, and was discussing with Ahimelech. And it was on the 5th day that David got the replenishing bread, the bread which was being replaced. Okay, it was on the 5th day. Let's have this. I'm gonna finish with this. That's a wonderful understanding. Okay. That's a wonderful understanding. So the day, so this is a summary of whatever happened. What I want to prove is that the 7th day Sabbath was not governed by the moon. No, the 7th day Sabbath was used on the method of counting a day, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you would come to the 7th. Okay, so it was not determined upon the phases of the moon. No. See, this is what I will start now, because now if you have been following this presentation, I will start with the last event where David was talking to Ahimelech on the Sabbath. It was the 7th day. Okay, so we want to calculate when exactly was the new moon. Fair and fine. Because according to my brothers on the lunar Sabbath, the Sabbath after the new moon should come at day 8. It should come on day 8 of the month. Okay, it should come on day 8 of the month, which is this one, the one in red. Okay, on this picture, the day 8 would be the one in red. You will see why I say it will be this, on the lunar Sabbath, this should be their Sabbath. All right. So the 7th day, all right, the 7th day was the day of shewbread of the Sabbath, which was the day when Ahimelech met with David. On that day, David said, 3 days I came out of the city. fleeing from Saul. Go back. So the seventh day was one day. He is calculating that about 3 days. Okay, so the seventh day, it's an inclusive counting. Okay, would be one, and the preparation day, the sixth one, would be the second, and the fifth day would be the third day, on which day he took flight from the city. All right, so on the day he took flight from the city, we know his covenant or his commitment or appointment he had made with Jonathan, it was supposed to be the third day of the month. All right, so if it was the third day of the month, what effectively it means that it was the first day of the month was the third day of the week. Wow. The first day of the month was on the third day of the week. And the new moon did not disturb the cyclic counting of the weekly Sabbath. It did not disturb it, as David proves that his journey from the city going to Moab shows us that there were 5 days. It took him 5 days, but by the time he got to Moab, it was on a Sabbath where the bread on the shewbread was being changed, and there were only 5 days from the new moon day. Actually, it was inclusive of the new moon day. Some may want to be argumentative and say, no, the calculation is not inclusive. If the calculation is not inclusive, to say that the first 3 days of their appointment, the new moon day, and the second day after the new moon, and the day they met David and Jonathan, okay, these were 3. And then there would be 3 more days that David refers to Ahimelech and saying, we have taken 3 days. This would make it still 6 days. Argumentatively, still it will be 6 days. And the teaching of the lunar Sabbath falling on the 8th day, the first Sabbath after the new moon falling on the 8th day, is proven to be not biblical. It's not what the Hebrew people were living in. It's not the Hebrew context of understanding the Sabbath. It's not there. Okay, it's not there. I've been trying to find examples where I can put it where the Sabbath was coming on the 8th and the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. It's not there. That understanding is not biblical. It's not there. Okay, according to this, to this slide, if the new moon day was on the 3rd, you know, the purple line with the 3 is the 3rd day. If the new moon was falling on that, okay, effectively, it should have come on the first, second, third, on the 4th day of the next week, if you would maintain the counting of 7 days. 6 days shalt thou labor, and the 7th day shalt thou rest. Okay, this is how it would follow. By this, it's a conclusive argument which says that the lunar Sabbath, the lunar teaching that the Sabbath is cyclic and it falls under specific dates and it's floating on the Gregorian calendar is not just I cannot use utter rubbish, okay, but then it's not a correct teaching. Let me say, it's not a correct teaching. My brothers need to revise their teaching. Actually, when I went into the study of the calendars, there is no way, all the calendars were never used, the week was never governed by the moon. The weekly timing was never governed by the moon. The moon runs the months and the festives, okay, but never the weekly Sabbath. The cyclic 7-day Sabbath was never run by the moon. And the moon cannot be used in this argument that the Sabbath is floating. It is not floating. It is a fixed day. It is a fixed day. Okay, so yep, this was my discussion. The last part of it then was me saying my trying to reconcile the teachings of my brothers to say this should not be with the lunar reckoning. Okay, it shouldn't be the fact that we have the 8th, then 15th, 22nd, and the 29th. This is not biblical. Okay, I know my brothers who are calling themselves to the Hebrew awakening and the world last chance people. Okay, I'm submitting my discussion to you, gentlemen and ladies, that this is not true. Let's come back to the Bible. The weekly Sabbath was not affected by the movements of the month. The movements of the moon affected the festivals, the appointed times, the moedims, which were the new moon month festive or feast, and the Passover, the 14th of the first month, the unleavened bread, okay, the 15th of the first month, the feast of the first fruits, okay, the 16th plus 7 days from there on up to the 22nd or 23rd, depending on the argument you use, okay, and you also have the time for the what was the other feast that follows? The Pentecost, yeah, the Pentecost, the 40 days, okay, the 40 days, and yeah, it's the Pentecost is quite a tricky one to calculate, but it's still, it was affected by the moon and the days, okay. And then you will have the trumpet, the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement. Then you will have the Sukkot, okay, or the Feast of Tabernacles. All right, these were affected by the moon, okay. Their appearance, their presence to us was through the counting of the moon, okay. They used to use the moon to count them, okay. So yes, my submission, I am done, I am finished, and I said this cannot be, the Sabbath cannot be ordered by the moon. It was a counting. The first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day, the sixth day, and the seventh day. And the seventh day, just as it was at the beginning of the creation. Okay? Yes. So just pass this on to my friends. Okay? They might want to listen to this. Okay? So, yeah, that was all. I'm done. Shalom, shalom. Today I gotta finish early, okay? Because my videos are too long. Many people, they don't want to entertain them that much. But then, what is it worth? What is your eternal life worth? That I do a 2 minutes video and make you feel proud and you jump and say, Amen. And then you sit down. No, I gotta discuss something that stays in your head, okay? With evidence. Stays for long. You can argue the same for yourself. This is why I do this one, all right? So, shalom, shalom, guys. I hope you got blessed with this, all right? I hope you got blessed with it. It's kind of an interesting one, though. That was.
is breathing.